Hey guys, it's Kyle here from Plague. So today's video I'm going to be running you through the process on how to clear your LS400 taillights. Keep in mind that for this ordeal, you are going to need clear red taillights, aftermarket ones. You cannot use your stock taillights, alright? And I'm going to be doing this on my 94 LS400, my UCF 10, and basically with things you can just find in your garage, everyday items. Before we begin this process, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Anonymous Stylie. He does have a similar video on his channel. I believe he is doing, I believe he did UCF 20 taillights, how to clear those.
Most people don't have the spare funds to spend hundreds, if not over $1,000 on authentic clear taillights for their car. So this is basically the easy way out. Keep in mind, it's not always going to look perfect. Right here, we have the stock taillight. Now, the lens for this is tinted. It's a tinted lens, which means you can't scrape it off or make it clear. Now, what you're going to need, especially for the LS400 or any other vehicle, is you need the lens to be painted. Alright, so this red in here is painted, red in here is tinted. Now this we can scrape off. If you are going to be using acetone, do be aware, that it could melt the plastic if you're not careful. So definitely use it minimally if you are going to use that. Alright, time for the fun. So you're going to want a sheet similar to this. You want a couple tools, a couple prying tools, or flathead. I recommend two because you're going to be prying one side while trying to open the other side of the lens. And then there's a really thick and sticky residue alongside the inner linings of the lens. So when you are pulling it apart, you're probably going to want a razor of some sort. Alright, we're going to throw the whole taillight onto the sheet here. And I would recommend preheating the oven to about 250 and setting a timer for about 8 to 12 minutes. Alright, once your oven's preheated, you're going to throw that little rascal right in the oven. We'll set that timer. Be aware that it is going to be pretty hot, but basically you're going to stick one of your flatheads in. I'd say one of the corners. Be careful though, because the lens, is pretty shatterable. So you're going to drive that in, and while you're pulling up one corner of the lens, you're going to start doing the other side, and eventually you'll be able to just peel the whole thing off. Now hopefully you're going to have that lens separated with minimal complications, and that's the best bet. Once you have your lens off, I would advise you put some tape over the clear strip. Now this is just because when you do end up clearing the taillight itself, the red is going to tend to just start washing into this clear part, and it can create some annoying stains that are going to be even harder to get out than the initial red that's already here. Again, don't use acetone unless you really have to. I would definitely recommend in trying to find some type of chemical that is not toxic to plastic or not harmful to plastic. It's going to make the process a whole lot easier for you. Hold it in a spot for a couple seconds. Push it around. Start brushing. You can just see that paint strip right off.
Alright guys, so I unfortunately dropped the lens. That's okay though, it's still going to look baller either way. Now, what we're going to do, after we strip the paint and remove the tape, we're going to begin the process of wet sanding. Now, we have a couple variations here. We're starting from about 600 to 2500, and we're going to gradually increase as we go along. Another thing to note is some people like to run their taillights without the lens, which is just stupid. Don't do that. That's lame. And all this red you see here on this residue, it's not going to be too noticeable when you put it on the taillight. I personally wouldn't worry about it too much, but you do you. Now, we're going to just slowly start in the corners, and we're going to get all these little stains out of here.
Alright, what's up guys, it's Devin. So we just finished up with the 600, and it's gonna look worse before it gets better. It's gonna be cloudy, and then once you move up in increments of the sandpaper, it'll start to clear up. And as you go along, just wipe it. We'll update you guys once we get to how much you think? 2,000? 2,000 is when it'll start looking
Look at
pretty
that already.
good. But yeah, it's already looking pretty clear.
Fucking yo. They be looking good though.
What? What's up, boys?
We just be on fire.
Yeah, so hot dogs.
Devin and Tyler working on the Outback. I'm working on the taillights. We've moved on to the final grit, 2,500, 3,000, whatever you have. And we are going to smooth out this final cloudiness. Get a little spray. And we're going to begin to sand all these corners relatively aggressively, as you can see.
Alright, so once you're done wet sanding, you're going to want to take something like this. I have the McGuire's clear plastic polish. Throw a couple little dabbles on there. Take your microfiber and just slowly start blending it in.
True. That's handy. That's nice.
Check it out after the polish.
Right now, maybe.
It's looking pretty nice. We're about ready to get this put back together here, so we'll show you how to do that. We are at the oven now. What I'm gonna do, or at least what's worked for me so far, is I'm gonna throw this in the oven. I'm gonna let it heat up a little bit. So this residue and glue right here, it's gonna melt a little bit, so I can put the lens on easier. So put this in for a couple minutes, throw the lens on, we'll throw some zip ties around it, tighten it up, and we'll see where we can get with it. Preheated the oven to 250. We'll check back in a couple minutes.
Sounds good. Okay, that's good. All right. Well, Mason.
Slowly press this lens in, all around. We just have these zip ties so we can hold the lens in place a little bit better. What's that? And then we'll just do that, one in the center, one on the left side. And then we will be set to put it back in the oven maybe about 6 or 7 minutes, and we'll check it periodically to make sure that the lens is fitting correctly. Alright guys, so the taillight has now been in the oven for about an extra 7 minutes after we initially had it in there for about 2 minutes. So overall, it's looking pretty solid, I would say.
Alright, now that we have let it cool in the garage for a little bit, it's looking pretty good. We are about ready to throw this onto the vehicle. Alright, here's the grand reveal. Braxton, go ahead. Here we go. Honestly, this one might be the best one yet.
I agree.
This corner one's pretty bad, but the car looks a whole lot slicker now for sure.
I agree.
Sweet. Beautiful. Very wonderful. Mad beautiful.
Sick.
In the next episode, you will see the lowering and coil process of Braxton's EK. Alright?
This is gonna be the outro. We're gonna put some cool music in right about.
Bitch, I put it to my skull. Bitch, believe I'm a drop boy. Drop dead in the middle of the block, boy. Stuck between the hard place and the rock, boy.